Hi everyone, my name is Flynn and I'm here with the fantastic Adrianne Walujo, and we would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we are meeting today, and we'd also like to pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Illustrator, designer and teacher Adrianne Walujo, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Having me today, Flynn. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. I've just finished my move, so I guess regular people who might watch the show might see that I don't have a green screen background for the first time in 3 years, which is really weird and new for me. So I had to pull a couple of knickknacks out of a box just to try to make some sort of background, so I wasn't just a white wall. But that this is the best. This is the best I've got at the moment. But I'll try to make it a little bit more exciting soon. But yeah, thank you so much for being here, and thank you everyone for watching as well. If you're watching live, you can interact with us. You can ask questions as we're going along. So you can ask Anne questions, you can ask myself questions. We'll do our best to answer it. So just throw it in chat if you're watching on Behance or also YouTube. I'll keep an eye on that as well as we're rolling through. But Anne, for people who might not be familiar with your work, can you give us a little bit of a quick rundown on who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. My name is Adrian, but call me Anne because it's just much shorter. And this is just like my Instagram, and I'm an illustrator. I used to study animation, but now I work full time as a creative manager. But on the side, I like to do illustrations and I used to teach for half a semester in my old university, but I enjoy doing creative stuff. I really like beautiful things, and I also like sharing like my process and everything. And just recently, I was just discovering a new feature. It's not new, but it's relatively new in Adobe Illustrator for the 3D feature in.
Yeah, I saw this on your Instagram. It's really cool. It's such a great approach. I had to play around as well, but yours somehow looks a lot nicer than what I did.
I realized that it have to be really specific on the lighting and on the settings, and I'm planning to do like some step-by-step video soon on this one, so keep an eye out on that. But my specialty is always in the vector illustration, character illustrations, and um, but I've been trying to venture out like more, just like trying different topics, and yeah, like I did a lot of like people character, and I've been trying to try like different kind of mediums, different kind of approach, like more non-human characters like object, but then with cute faces. And yeah, so I think that's going to be part of the things that we'll be doing today. um, I'll just close this away.
Yeah,
um,
cool. I'll just jump in there. Like, I think that's one of the like more striking things from your work. Like, what I think it's been probably a long time now. We've had you on Adobe Live a couple of times, and you've done quite a bit with Adobe as well, like around campaigns and doing some cool stuff with us. But it was definitely like this whimsical character illustrations, and as you said, it's often of people like these relationships, kind of everyday things, maybe some whimsical type things. Yeah, some of the fan art. I think there's some fan art just up a little bit more from Squid Game as well.
yes.
It's so recognizable. It's so cool, but it's minimal in a way, if I'm allowed to say that.
Mm.
Like with the strokes that are chosen and the color application as well, like color palette is bright and beautiful, but it can, you can still do a lot with like fairly muted colors as well. But yeah, there's a lot of personality, I think, in the characters.
Yeah, thank you. I really get fascinated with just trying to simplify things. I think my life goal is just to simplify things. I like things easy, even though because I find that okay, what's the fastest way to achieve things? And I find that's why I really like minimalist illustration. I'm still learning though. I think I saw this really cool Mona Lisa art in my uncle's house, and it was just made of circles, but then it was using the Mona Lisa painting color palette. So
Right.
even though it was just circle, and then like based on um, like the placing and everything, but you were able to tell that it is actually trying to mimic the Mona Lisa art. But it was just
Mm.
circles. So it's just like how amazing it is that something so basic, but that it was able to convey so much at the same time. Um, I just find it like really a fascinating thing to play around with.
How
Yeah.
old were you when you saw that, do you think?
Um, uni
Yeah.
years. Yeah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, that's so smart. And I thought, this is really fun, like this world of minimalism. Um,
I agree. I had the similar thing. I had a bunch of MC Escher things on our wall growing up, and I was always amazed at kind of looking at it and trying to figure out what was going on. I was amazed that someone could think of that because just looking at it, I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, what? It was kind of blew my mind a little bit back then.
yep, yep. Wow, yeah. But yeah, it does need context though to understand oftentimes, like with this kind of art. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to move that away. So today we are going to be. I was thinking, I really like going to this live stream because it kind of helped me to think about like new things that I can do um, to make it more fun. So
Oh wow.
this exploration that I do,
It's super cute.
I've been trying to be healthy. I've been trying to keep like building habits because working from home and just having your life confined like in your home, I think you have to create structure on it. So I've been trying to just build healthier habits, physical, emotionally, mentally. And one of the things that I struggle to do is just drinking enough water for the day.
Mm.
So today, like other than illustration, we are going to create like an app. Like I remember seeing this concept app. Like no, like it's a real app. So when you drink water, you log it in, and then
Right.
like you have like this potted plants, and then it will grow every time you drink water. And I thought it was really cute, and I couldn't find it again. Maybe I forgot the name. But then
Mm.
I was thinking, oh, maybe I could do something like that because I also like to play games like cute animals. I used to play Tamagotchi when I was like much younger.
Oh my gosh, I was going to say this is like a Tamagotchi, but for you, you're the Tamagotchi, and
Yes.
every time you drink the water, yeah, that's great. That's exactly what I was thinking of.
And so this is going to do the final thing. So what I did was I did some, so like in Illustrator, like if you want to create like things like mobile screen, there is actually create new, and then there's mobile. There's a different presets that is already existing. So just for information for people who are like in the past there were not that many presets, but
Mm.
like you can just choose like whichever that you want. So I choose the iPhone X, and I did some sketches and concept. And so the idea is that you'll get an egg, and every time you drink water, like it will add to its bar, and when it's full, you can hatch it into these different characters. Um, and yeah, like and
These are great.
they can evolve as you keep drinking water. So as you're drinking water, you're also nurturing these cute animals, and I thought that's such a win-win solution, and it
That's
will
great.
motivate me so much, like personally, for people who are like me, who like cute things. And once you like finish adulting like one of your pets, like you can collect another location, so you can have like the forest, the sky, the sea. And
Mm.
I was like, yeah, I was just thinking, wow, it's so hard to create things that evolve. And I was thinking about, okay, now I understand the struggle of all those Pokemon designers, and it's just really hard. But it was really fun though, because you get to try to mix some natural elements with the animals, and you can make them look as silly as you can. And when I was like creating this, I was thinking also about the concept of the background. So I was thinking like, if this is an app, so if anyone watching here is a developer and wants to do this, let me know. But there's going to be just like relaxing music, and then you can like press on it, and there's going to be little animations. um, but basically the idea is that if you look at the final thing, it's like you have like a button here, and it will go up for like the day. If you need to drink like 9 cups of water, it will just like fill up to the top as you go, and when it reaches its full, it's going to go to the next stage. And so that's like the idea.
That's awesome. I'm just going to check in with chat. Ranjit says her art style is very beautiful. And Don says, I let so many die. Yeah, I was just thinking, I wonder if anyone has a currently living Tamagotchi that they've had going since what, late 90s or something, maybe mid 90s. I'd be impressed if anyone had one that was still going. All those Tamagotchis. But hey, maybe with smartphone technology, we can keep them alive. We create a bot that feeds them or something.
I was really surprised to find out that the newer Tamagotchis, like they actually have colors on the screen. Like
Oh,
in the
right.
past, yeah, like in the past, it was just like a pixel of black and white, but it was like was really cute, and it makes this like they have like a distress noise. I remember, like if you don't feed them enough, and
Oh,
you feel so guilty about that, and somehow your Tamagotchi turns out not too good because you don't raise them up properly. It was such a lot of responsibility for kids, I guess.
yeah, it was a lot. I think that was
Mhm.
like a lot of us thinking, oh, you know what, I'm going to wait a couple of years until I have kids because my Tamagotchi just didn't do so well. For those too young to remember, I'm just sharing a link. You can buy Tamagotchis now. That's crazy. They exist.
Yeah.
Amazing.
When I went to Japan, I think it's still like they have a store and they have like all kind of like Tamagotchis, and I've been wanting to go back again, but yeah, with the condition and everything, haven't had the chance. But I would love to get one that is really cute and just I'm like it's just for remembering the good old times kind of activity.
Yeah.
So yeah, so definitely it's like kind of based on that idea of having that pocket pads. And in my vision, like these things cannot die. They probably just gonna look sad. Like they can look sad. They can
Right.
look, but then yeah, I don't think they're going to die in my vision of this app. And I was like talking to my husband about this. Like it will be really cool, like to have different kind of forests. Like you'll have Australian forest, and then like the pets gonna be like koala or like little wombats. I think it'll be like so cute. And
Have to get a quokka or something as well. It's the new
yeah,
new
have you been?
darling.
Have you seen a real one?
I
I've
have
never.
now, yeah, and only recently. I'd never seen one before. I felt like someone was making it up a couple of years ago when they started doing the rounds on the internet. I was like, "Oh, where's that from?" And it was like Australia, and I was like, "I've never seen one before." Um,
Yeah.
Seen all the other crazy animals we have, but I'd never seen a quokka until recently, and they are indeed extremely cute.
Oh wow! Like are they? But they are native to Western Australia, are they? So they are not.
Yeah, saw it in like in a zoo, but they were very cute.
Yeah, I would love. When I went to Tasmania, like one of the things that I really enjoyed was I went out at 1 a.m. to like stargazing. But then like what's really cool, like along the way you see all these wild animals that are just appearing in front of people's houses, like wallabies jumping when you're like jumping like right across off from you, or wallabies
Right.
near like the bins. And I saw an possum albino
Oh, right.
possum was
Yeah.
really cool, and I'm like it feels like in a night safari. So I really love like animals and cute small animals.
Yeah.
um anyway, so
And
that's
sorry, jumping back to this, what did you illustrate this? Because we're in Adobe Illustrator, but I feel like this wasn't this sketch.
like,
I mean, I say it's a sketch, but like these are
no,
like
they are.
really cool drawings. Yeah, but to me, they're like, this could be finished artwork. So you've done kind of like a couple of scenes of what it might look like, and then you've done the sketching. What do you use for the sketching part?
So I used Adobe Fresco. Whenever like I'm
Right.
working on any projects, like I always have to have like a sketching stage where I just brainstorm ideas and being able to get out ideas as quick as I can. So this is like a tips for anyone who like people who wants to go to creative. Like no one creates something good from the very beginning, like from idea to execution. There's always like sketches,
Mm.
brainstorming, and Adobe Fresco. I really love their like the pencil. It feels like pencil even though like I'm drawing digitally, and it makes me feel more artistic when
Right.
I use. And I drop them to my computer, and I use them like as references when I'm factoring them into reality.
Mm.
So what we're going to be doing today, like based on like these sketches, I'll be choosing the forest one. Yeah, the sky one like looks so funny the more I look at it. Then like the forest animals will be factoring this character, and also then we'll be creating the background for this one.
Cool.
Okay, but yeah, it's going to be quite simple. Um, yeah, so just making that into 60. If that's not enough. It's like talking to like a few people, or like asking like in real life, and then like when people get to know what I do, like they ask like, oh, like do you, yeah, how to get like into like the creative. And I say that creating, like some people still think that you have to have a like degree, like you have to go to school to
Right.
be able to work in the creative industry. It helps because sometimes, even though like you see that, oh, there are a lot of things in YouTube, but if you don't know what to search, like you can't really search something if you don't know like what terms, or like you're not sure what you don't know. But then
Mm.
but I know that it's not an option for everyone. So my recommendation is that you see the kind of project that you want to do and try to create something called, and a lot of people call it like passion project. So you
Right.
don't have client, so you just create like this concept. And the best way to do that is just thinking about like what kind of things that I would want in my life. And in my case, like this personal project of mine, I wish like there's an app that can do this. Um, so like you get to push yourself creatively, you enjoy what you do, and it's gonna look great on your portfolio because like you are able to demonstrate it, what you can do. So yeah, passion project is something that's really fun to do.
Yeah, it's definitely something that comes up, I think, with Adobe Live, and I don't think we've had anyone not say it's really important to do the work that you want to be, chosen to work on, rather than, you can find that you have your whole, maybe you're really interested in illustration, but you don't have that much illustration in your portfolio. Maybe you're a graphic designer that wants to transition into illustration or vice versa, but you need to kind of prove that you can do the work in your portfolio, and also present the work that you want to do so that clients ideally come to you for that, because they'll see it in the portfolio and think, oh, that's the style we want for this project or this campaign, or we want to work with this person. We're not sure what yet. It seems to be the advice for those that are looking to kind of alter the type of clients they get or the type of work that they get to work on. It can be very hard though, can't it? Like, because often you feel like you might need to stick to what you're good at or what people are already employing you for. So I know that you do use UX, like UI design, full time, but we know you very well here from your illustration style. So interested in your thoughts on balancing the two or finding time for passion projects.
I actually, yeah, like I think it's one of the hard thing is as well taking risk in trying new things, and I think being brave at you're going to suck at it in the beginning.
Right. And that's okay.
And that's definitely okay because I think in the past when we learn something, we don't have to kind of like expose it to the public. But sometimes like we feel that, oh, I can't share this, so is it something that is good? Like, am I actually good at this? And you feel demotivated because of that. Um, whatever. But I think just choosing one area of interest and consistent in that. And I would even recommend if you want to learn something, not to post anything. So you're just creating something for yourself, you're learning for yourself, finding that excitement of discovering new things. But also, other than just like expanding your interest, but also limiting your interest is also important.
Right.
Because if not, you'll feel overwhelmed because like there's so many amazing things that you can be doing, but then you realize that you have only limited amount of time, that is not just for work but also for other things in life. And everyone is different, but for me, I can fall into the trap of I could be doing something more, why am I not doing something more? But then I realized that I can only take one thing at a time. Like as you say, that I have a full-time job and there's a commitment, so like the side things should help to make me feel happy and not make me feel more stressed. um, so I think that's just being okay with being bad at learning new things and being okay with not having to do everything is such an important thing to remember, like to remind
Mm.
yourself, especially in an age where when you look at like TikTok or Reels and you see like all these amazing things that you can be doing and people teaching and giving tips, and you feel like, oh, the resources are out there, but then why am I not learning? Because it can be really tiring mentally if you keep pushing yourself in that way.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah,
So I
I
love
took
this.
break.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Sorry, like you were saying, like as I'm balancing, like even like I have to be being really transparent. Is that I have to take break like from social media for a bit just to kind of reorient myself. So
Mm.
sometimes you need to do that as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. I was just going to ask just about this, or ask just about the very thin they're not wireframes. I'm not trying to pretend that they're wireframes or anything, but it does remind me a little bit of wireframes, kind of doing the geometric outlines of what this shape is. Is this how you always approach like your characters, like going for, because the sketches are very freehand, aren't they? Like it's a thick kind of pencil that you've used. It's quite rough. But then it's almost the opposite. Like now it's very geometric, it's very intentional, and very thin lines at the moment. So is this the approach that you always take when you're creating or vectorizing, I should say, your characters?
The sketch is always, this is another fun thing, is like sometimes like you sketch more than the final thing. But I feel in the end, it depends on the final style to work on. But for me, like if I think about this as a real, like a project, and there's going to be timeline, and how to be consistent in that is going to be, and how to scale it as well. Like, because if I want to animate this in After Effects, it needs to be, it needs to have more structure around it. And I find for myself that this is a good way of trying to make things consistent across the different characters, because having like, for instance, like the same style across, it'll make it look like it's part of one collection rather than different things. But I'm also interested in non-digital, like for instance, like storybook, or something that you want to create more organic. Like you can use pen tablet, and with that you can get a more freehand look to it, and use pencil tool rather than right now like my mouse and the pen tool. But like I always do the wireframe first. Like I don't think about the color at all, and sometimes I just try to get the basic shapes correct, because I need to be able to see like the inside of the thing, because if I put color now, I won't be able to see the face and everything. But
that's great. Yeah.
Next time, if you're doing live stream, hopefully I already acquire that new thing that I'm learning, which is to make something looks hand drawn, but vector. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is that the next, like your next goal for yourself?
Yeah. After learning the 3D feature, so one thing at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing at a time. Yeah, it's very important. As you said, you get so overwhelmed. You can get so overwhelmed. There's lots of apps. And of course, if you're scrolling on Instagram, you're a creator, you're probably following lots of creators, and you get kind of bombarded with incredible work like every day. And you're like, oh man, I really need to learn 3D. Or I really need to learn animation, or I need to learn illustration or design or something. So yes, we're all in the same boat. No one I know does everything. Just very quickly, there was a question from chat from Ranajit. Where do you get your inspiration from?
Oh yes, I think when I am thinking, when I get inspiration from, I was reading, so I'm just like thinking, because I believe, for me personally, I don't know what you think, Flynn, but I don't think there is such thing as 100% original. So I always feel like I'm always inspired by something else. I mostly get inspired by things that I enjoy. That's the first thing, like that's from the aesthetic point of view. But usually, like ideas to create like projects, it comes from just like personal experience, things that I read. Like I was like telling in the beginning, like I was saying, oh yeah, I wish that there is a solution to like my water tracker app that I want, where it's cute and at the same time it's still keeping me accountable to drink water. So that's like the problem, like in UI UX, I guess like that's the problem statement. And then you try to create a creative design solution with your own kind of like likings and everything. So I think that's, for me, it's the easiest to create something when I know that there is a problem that I'm trying to solve. But problem is not just functional, it can also be aesthetic, because like, oh, like use, like there's a really functional app for something, but then like it doesn't look nice and you want to make it look nice. Like sometimes things like that can even inspire you to like, oh, I know I can make this like so much nicer. I want to make this. So those are the kind of things that inspires me to create when I know I'm like telling a story or like giving a solution to that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point as well, because that's obviously taken from your experience, like, you know, working on digital products, right? Like that kind of approach. And I hear you get similar sorts of things with someone that's like, my background is design. So I often think about, not so much a problem statement, but what's the purpose? What's the goal? Who are the stakeholders? It's almost like borrowed from advertising in a way. You know, who are the stakeholders? What's it for? What's the budget? This kind of tiered, waterfall kind of approach to thinking about problems. And we're all a bit different, right? Like your experience might not be that. It might be classical art, for example, and you might approach things in a very, very different way than you would from a pragmatic approach. But yeah, certainly coming from the idea is everything a remix. Are there any original ideas and things like that? I think there definitely are in context. But there's a saying as well, like standing on the shoulders of giants, right? Like where we build on top. It's kind of like, you know, famous painters looking at the famous painters, you know, that had existed before them, and those painters looked at the painters before them, and so on and so forth. It's impossible to avoid with the internet, right? Like we absorb things even subconsciously. So inspiration is an interesting thing, especially with all this AI technology coming out at the moment. There's a lot of people talking a lot about that. We don't have to get into it. We had a bit of a chat with it in some previous streams this week, but it is around and people are talking about it. It's quite an interesting phenomenon at the moment.
Is it like where you are able to just write and then they create things based on that?
I think some of the interesting things are around where does the AI source imagery from? Because if is it from other artists? Because their work is on the internet, right? Is it, you know, where is the line drawn? Like if I typed in, for example, Salvador Dali, but hats instead of watches, and could it get to a point where it's almost a Salvador Dali painting, but it's replaced the watches with hats? Is it my work? You know what I mean? Who owns the copyright on that? Like, how much is it plagiarism? Is any of it? I don't know. It's an interesting time.
Yeah, it is. Like when I saw the AI thing, I was like thinking about like how do you draw the line between if this is stealing in a sense, or is this like ethical? I think if you wanna like
that's another good thing to consider. Is it ethical? Is it not? Is it fine? It could be fine. I don't know. It's lots of perspectives out there.
I know like some artists who see it as more of a, like it's good for brainstorming because you get like compositions and ideas from there. So yeah, it is an interesting time. I was really surprised that the AI has come that far. So it's really cool.
I was quite surprised as well. Sangram in chat saying AI coming is very good news. That's good. Cool. Thanks for letting us know your perspective. Pekau is saying, good morning from Indonesia. Hello. How are you doing?
Hello. Okay, good. We still have time for the background. I was worried that I was like talking about like a lot of other things, but my hand is not moving. I'm not like the best like multitasker.
It's always a balance between interrupting the guest and slowing them down, and also having a good chat, which I think we are so far. I'll check in with chat now. So this, and also if you're watching on demand, so this is part one of a 2-part series that we'll be doing with Anne. So we're here today for an hour, and we'll be back on Thursday for an hour as well, or 48 hours from today we'll be live, depending on where you are in the world. I know I've got some folks from Indonesia, and I think someone was from Canada before, Peru. One of the fantastic things about doing this is just having you all tune in from wherever you are in the world, and I'm sure lots of people watching on demand from different places outside of Australia, which is really cool, because that's where we are. So, and Sangram is saying, love your work. Love this work, love it, thank you. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Do we have a name for this little fellow? Would you name them at this stage? Do you ever name them? Do you crowdsource names?
Yeah, I need to. I always get like really good names from Adobe Livestream. So if anyone can give like names, like they have to be related to each other, like from their baby stage to their adult stage. So
amazing. If anyone wants to throw some names in the chat, we'll collect them and maybe we'll see what we get by the end of the stream.
Now the layer name is just character. How's that? So we'll be working on the background. So for background, I think, yeah, for background, I tend to go straight into the blocks of colors compared to character, for me at least. Especially for this one, is not as complex. Oh, actually, I should bring this next to me. Choosing colors is also one of those things that where you have to really explore a lot. So I'm not going to pretend that I managed to do everything. I managed to choose the color at like, I know this is the perfect color.
Oh,
Like
just at random off the top of your head. Yeah, it's trial and error, right? Is that generally, yeah.
It's trial and error. Like you choose the kind of mood that you want to go, but then after that, based on like a few colors, and then you try to see what is the best combination. So I remember like when I was like doing this, I just started off with the round and okay. That.
I like that. We've got a name already, which is really cool. Ranajit has said Bunamon, B-U-N Amon, which is quite cool. It's like a Digimon kind of way to answer, which is really cool. Bamboo, that's a really cool name too. Do love like a literal name is always cool.
Oh, I would love to do like a forest, and then like there's panda, and it's just there's so many possibilities of the different kind of like pets that you can do with this.
It's never ending. Yeah, you can go crazy with it. That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty much fun, actually.
Just shouting out for those that are joining us, we're here with Adrianne Walujo, and we're creating an app. So app concept prototype. We'll go with concept at the moment, because who knows how far we'll get through, but it could be a prototype as well with her product design skills. And it's an app that basically encourages you to drink water. So I guess it's like an amalgamation of like Pokemon and also Tamagotchi, probably even more like Tamagotchi, and you feed the pet. So it encourages you to be a little bit healthy in your real life and rewarding you with growing and evolving your own creature. It's really cool. I love this. Were you saying that you searched for something like this and you couldn't find it? Because this would like genuinely be a really cool app.
Because I remember seeing the plant one a few years ago, and I thought it was really cool, and then I forgot about it. Like I tried to search for it again. Maybe I don't use the right keyword, but yeah, I couldn't.
Right. So it might exist somewhere, but yep.
But it's plants. It's so it's different. But I'm not saying that the whole idea of like having like your water pet is quite cute. Yeah. But thanks, Flynn. Like I feel really glad that you're able to explain it. So it means like the concept is clear.
Oh yeah, I got it straight away. And again, like I love having different creatives on here with different backgrounds, like product design, like kind of thinking mindset. I do understand a little bit, and it makes so much sense to, when you said before, like having that. What did you call it? Not a product statement. Yeah, mission statement.
Problem statement.
Problem statement. There we go. Stemming from a problem statement and then working from there towards a solution gives you the confidence and permission to know what to do. Like everything kind of stems from there, from your experience, which I think is really valuable. It's an interesting way of thinking. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm down with it.
Yeah, it'll be really fun. I should drag my husband is actually a developer, but I don't think he's made app before. And should I drag him into my passion project so that I can drink more water? Yeah, I forgot if I mentioned this, but hopefully like on Thursday, if we can get more things done, we can actually connect them in Adobe Xd. And what I really like when I was like working in Adobe Xd is that I can preview the app on my phone. So it feels so real, even though I haven't built it.
Yeah, there's something about that, isn't it? Like actually holding it in your phone, you can very quickly. It's something about the tactileness of it, or kind of how you hold the phone and where the buttons are and how big they are, and there's something about it. You can immediately discover things like, oh, actually the menu's in the wrong spot, or those aren't clearly buttons yet, or actually it'd be better if I swiped or something rather than having to, you know, all that user experience kind of stuff that feels good on a screen might feel a little bit different as soon as you're holding it in your hand.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and what really cool with the prototype is there is also the transition animation. So when you go from one screen to another screen, it has like the different kind of animation. So it feels really real, especially if it's like something really basic. So it will feel tremendously satisfying to see that coming to life. Yeah, probably it's like the equivalent, like in the past when you do printing design and then you're able to see the real thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's exactly right. Except then you have the big issue with colors coming out wrong always. That was always my problem with printing. The colors would never ever look right.
What do you usually do to correct that? Like, how many tries do you have to?
I had to give it to a teacher or a better designer and ask them to help me with my color.
Yeah.
Not my forte, unfortunately.
Printing design is really cool, but printing is tear inducing for me. Like, I remember like one of my first assignment was to print to design a calendar, and we have to print the real thing. And I remember going to the printer, and they, on the day when I had to submit it, the printer messed it up, like the pages were flipped or something like that.
Right.
And I remember I was like crying, and I'm like, oh, why is like printing so hard and it's so stressful? it's just something else, printing. I really
Absolutely.
applaud people who do that every day, dealing with choosing the right paper, the right printer, and using like the right color. So it's, yeah, amazing. But I still love printing. I love looking at like beautiful packaging. So
yeah, absolutely. There's something really nice about holding something tactile in your hands, especially when the colors are all right. Because I'm like, wow, how'd they do that? So when you're drawing, just back to the drawing kind of technical side of things, do you use a stylus of any kind, or do you use pen, like keyboard and mouse?
for this, I use keyboard and mouse. I guess that's why like the sketching part was important for the character, because I have more freedom. And once I have the basic like shapes and everything, it's easier to trace using pen tool. If I don't have anything like underneath the layer for me to reference, it's really hard to do the pen tool straight, because
Right.
it's not natural. Like, you don't think in anchor points and those things. Tablet is really helpful, and I do have them. It's just that sometimes I'm a bit lazy to set it up. But then, because I don't use that on my like everyday work. But then, encouragement is that it's not necessary if you want to start trying digital drawing. So yeah, learning, because I know like sometimes like when you learn like illustration, like you feel like you have to buy a lot of things, but you can start with what you have right now, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I think like a lot of illustrators that we'll have a stylus or something, and often the question will be, well, how do I get into it? Do I need to invest in, and thankfully there are more affordable tablets and things like that now that you can get, which is great. But it's also good like to show other methods and other ways that you can create things where you can just use what you've got, which is always good, especially if you're trying something new out, or you're trying a style out, or a field that you don't know if that's something you're going to be doing all the time, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think when you are still trying out, like you're not sure if this is something that you want to do in the long run, and just being like really in a way that maybe, yeah, like I said, I'm so glad there's so many affordable options nowadays. But I know like a lot of like really good illustrators, they really hang on with what they have for a long time, until it takes them like a few years until they really upgrade into like really nice hardware usually. because it's like an investment for work at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's just a question, probably more for me than you, but question is, I'll read it out because I have an answer for it. So Adobe has so many software, they should make a guide or something for what is best for what. We actually have something exactly like that. I will share it in chat. I just need to find it while we're live. It was done by regular on the stream, actually, Ben Marriott. If you're familiar with him, he's fantastic. And he's done, a 10-minute video on like all of the apps and what they're useful for. So I think that will be really cool. And hopefully that that helps you out and helps some other people out. So I'll find that. I'll share it in chat in a moment.
But yeah, Adobe has been expanding into a lot of different territories. Like Xd didn't exist a few years back. When I was like little, I remember it's only Photoshop, I think, that's really, really big, and then they start to expand more and more. It's really cool, like the kind of different fields that it's treading into, especially I'm really excited for the 3D feature in Adobe Illustrator. It's
lots of fun, isn't it? So I'll be interested to see where it goes as well, because right now it's lots of fun. So it'll be interesting to see what's added in. For those that don't know, there's like you can very quickly do 3D stuff in Adobe Illustrator now. I always love that, like, as well, because I think there's often a difficulty, and I have this as well, of learning completely new software. Like, I think After Effects is a good example. You're fantastic at it, but like, I'm sure you've had this a lot from people interested in your work as well, sort of saying, oh, do I have to learn After Effects to kind of create something like this? And it can be a little bit difficult because it's a different way of thinking, different approach, different process. You got to render things, you got to think about timeframes and pace and all sorts of stuff. But adding a feature into an app that you're very, very familiar with can feel really powerful because you're already familiar with everything else. So just adding that extra little bit on can make it a little bit easier to kind of dip your toe into something like 3D.
Yeah, it's definitely not as good as like a real 3D software, but for a lot of people, I know that it's really helpful to be able to create something, even though it's quite limiting, but at the same time, again, like with limitation, usually you become really creative on how you can use it, and sometimes in limitation you discover style that are specific because they are like born because of the limitation. So it's still it's bridging a lot of hindrances that I know like a lot of illustrators would love to learn 3D, but it's just really technical sometimes and perhaps not have a lot of time to do that. And I know, like, I think, is that like a new feature for 2022?
It might have been at the start of this year. I was quite late to it too myself, and I'm sure I knew about it when it came out, but I don't remember because the year is a blur.
Yeah, like so I'm really excited to see that how much it will be improved after maybe this year, like in the new 2023 version, if a lot of people are using it. So I think like this is another thing, is that when Adobe releases like new feature, I like really cool feature, but then like I'm so used to like using my old way, so I didn't think about trying and exploring, and
That's
like,
it. It's so true. We all do, don't we? We get set in our ways, and we don't want to change. It happens a lot, I think, from my perspective as well, because we spend a lot of time on Adobe Live searching and demonstrating and showing off all the latest features and all that sort of stuff, and then someone's creating wireframes still in InDesign and all sorts of stuff like that. But they can do amazing stuff in InDesign, right? But you're like, but you should learn the news thing, and they're like, nah, I don't want to. I'm happy with doing things the way that I'm doing it.
It's gonna be always learning. You always have to learn. I guess it's another thing that as I work more, like now as a professional, like no longer a student, but then I have to keep being open to new technologies. And it's like one of the things that I'm really unfamiliar with is like AR, VR, those world. I think that world is so foreign to me. Yeah. Do you have any guests that do that, like VR, AR?
We do. Yeah, we do. We have. I'm trying to remember who is playing around with that. Where we've got quite a few. I think I'm allowed to say this because we're working on Adobe Max, and we have a bit of 3D and AR. We have quite a few people that are demonstrating some of that. So how you can do 3D and AR with the use of creating assets in Adobe apps. So that's
Wow.
about as much as I can give away at the moment. But there's a lot. There's definitely a lot coming. Coming very soon. Coming
You don't want
soon
a Tom
to an
Holland.
event near you.
You don't want a Tom Holland Adobe feature, I guess. If you understand that.
I think like a feature will come out, and then it takes a while for community, like people from Adobe, like Adobe, you know, people, lots of testers, and there's people in the communities that test it and things like that. But I guess it takes a while for it to be for new features to be released into the public, and then the public, you know, creators get their hands on it, and then they integrate it into their workflows and how people might use it. So it tends to have a little bit of a like time effect. Like the 3D and Illustrator stuff came out at least 5 or 6 months ago, maybe even more. But I only played around with it maybe a month or two ago, and you only just played around with it, you know, recently. So that's it. Kind of sometimes it takes a little bit for people to find where it fits in their workflow, if it does, or find the time to kind of play around with it, all that sort of thing.
Definitely. So to give some more, like, to explain more like what I'm doing, I mean, like I'm creating trees, but then the reason why when I'm choosing like colors when I was creating this is that the idea is that the trees are closer to our, like from closer to the user, so that therefore usually like the color is like much darker to create like that depth. So the further away you are, like the hills here, it's going to be lighter, like the contrast between the hill and the sky is going to be closer, so that it's not distracting. So there is like a hierarchy of visual visual hierarchy on the contrast of color.
Yeah, it's really great. And I know from like previous work that you've done with us, previous things I've seen with you, almost a parallax kind of bit in the animation. I don't know if that works in here, but that discussion of like the feeling of depth. I mean, we're only in a window, like the canvas is so tiny, but you're trying to give as much like depth to the environment as possible. And I guess there's color, the direction of the light, and animation. I'm sure there's more other things that I'm not thinking of as well you could do. Yeah, to give that depth. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm trying to find that link. I actually can't find it right now. But what I'll do is I'll just put the link at the bottom of this video once it's finished. So yeah, sorry, I haven't been able to find it at the moment, but as soon as I track it down, I will share it. It's really useful. So just give me a couple of minutes till after the stream to edit everything, and I'll drop that link in there. I won't leave my desk until I do. I hope I can find it now. But it's exactly that video that you're after. So. Speaking of time, we've got about six minutes left today, just for you and to know, and also for chat. If you've got any final questions as we roll along, getting towards the end of the stream. And now as a reminder as well to take a drink of water as well while we're doing this. It's very important.
Yes. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I feel energized to create this again. Yeah, like I think for a lot of people, like they find it that when you're creating something and you're so into it, when you're in your deep work, you don't move, you don't stretch, you stay there, sit down, and realizing a few hours pass and you only drank 1 cup of water. Yeah, it's interesting how time travel works sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. I'll check it out. I can multitask. I did it. I found the video.
Wow. Okay. So the video is about just explaining the different function of each
Yeah.
app.
Yeah, it's Creative Cloud 101, every app in 10 minutes. So it's a condensed version of explaining this is what this app is, this is what it does really well, this is why you should use it, and then it's on to the next app. And you can scrub through and check it out, which I think is really useful. Because it can be very overwhelming. There's lots of apps. It's like, should I use Illustrator to illustrate? Right? That's you'd think so, but not always. We are today, certainly. But a lot of people, if they're using a tablet or a stylus, will use Photoshop to illustrate, or they might use Fresco. And it's like, well, which one should I use? And the answer is, it depends as well. And it depends on your goals and your style and all that sort of stuff. So it can be confusing. So hopefully that's helpful.
Adobe Premiere is one of the ones that I don't have a lot of time exploring, but I know there's a lot of things you can do with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know After Effects, so it wouldn't be a big stretch, I think, for you to pick up Premiere if you really wanted to.
I think I've done it a few times, but I keep forgetting when I come back to the software. It's like, oh, what's this again?
Oh, we all do that. Yeah, the other day I was looking to speed up. I needed to reduce a video file size and speed it up because I could only upload 30-second video, but it was 1 minute in length, and I ended up doing it in After Effects because I remembered how to do it in there, because I tried to do it in Premiere Pro and I forgot.
Yeah.
Even though I'm sure it's like 2 clicks in Premiere.
I feel like the other hard thing. I know, like when I was like learning with Premiere and After Effects, they were talking about After Effects. Premiere is like mowing your lawn using lawnmower, and After Effects is like using scissors. So basically, like it's really detailed. But then like I found myself, because I'm more familiar with After Effects, I use it more, I think, for basic things.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how to activate the lawnmower, so.
We did get a couple of names, so I'll share. We got the 3 names to the creature. If you want to throw any more ideas for the names of our creature, I'll collect them and we can chat about them at the beginning of next stream, which will be on Thursday. Bunamon, which is really cool, based on, I feel like it's like Digimon style, which is really cool. Bamboo and Boo Boo.
Oh.
That almost sounds like it could be the evolution. This could be Boo Boo, and then Bamboo could be the middle one, and then Bunamon could be the final one.
Yeah, like that's like really, it's really cute. Like they all start with B.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think honestly, like what's left to this is adding details. Like you have like all your basic elements there, and then you keep adding shadows, you keep adding smaller details like this bark line. And yep. So wow, 3 minutes left.
Yeah, not a long time left for us today. It went very quick. It went really quick. But had a great time. Thanks for the questions, everybody, so far. And as I said, we'll be back on Thursday with part 2. So if you have a question that you didn't ask that you want to next time. So Anne, are we going to be jumping into XD straight away on Thursday? Are we going to be spending more time in Illustrator?
Let's see. I think we'll still have to be in Illustrator to export some of the elements, so we can move that to XD.
Cool.
But let's see what's going to happen in the next 2 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, we can even pick up exactly where we are, if you like. That's always great. I do think the exporting part is really valuable. I think that can be really confusing. I know when we're taking elements from something like Illustrator over to After Effects, it's really important, that process, to get it right. There's a couple of really important steps involved there. that might not be intuitive. So that's super great. So if we can do the same thing with XD, that would be fantastic. But we should probably say our goodbyes now, and so we don't get cut off.
Okay, guys. So suddenly, here it is, and now it's done.
So this is one you prepared earlier, which is super cool. That's super great.
So if we look at it just without like the overhanging things, that's probably what it's gonna look like. I was going to add like just more lighting on this, just to add the ambience. So like if it's an app, like it's gonna be like moving around subtly, lighting on the pants. So yeah.
It's really great. If you don't feed them, it's like the sky could get gray as well. Like it could end up. There's so much you could do with this.
I think I should do like different variation of what happens in each different state. I think that'll be gonna be fun for Thursday.
It's amazing. It's such a fun project. There's so much we could do from here. We will have to leave it there. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for watching. Again, I've said it many times, but we'll be back on Thursday, and I hope you can all join us then.
Yeah.
See you later.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.